Welcome to Seek Reality with your host, Roberta Grimes. Author and attorney Roberta Grimes will explore and illustrate how she, after an extraordinary experience of light in childhood, has discovered channels of communication to the afterlife and how these implications have an effect on our everyday lives. Please welcome the host of Seek Reality, Roberta Grimes.
Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
I am really glad that you can be with us today because we have an old friend back. You know, part of my fun in sharing Seek Reality with you week after week has been that in the course of the past 5 years, I have made so many friends. And a few of them have expertise in so many areas that I've invited them to share their thoughts with us again and again. One of those multi-timers is our guest today. Now, we've been talking more of late about the fact that the only thing that exists is what we experience as human consciousness. I know that's hard to believe, but that's the way it is. That's just the truth. And as we try to understand the truth and look at more and more evidence that only confirms that truth, still, it's really hard to get our mind around what this means. So does it mean that our minds are all part of God? Or even is the sum of all our minds all that God actually is? You know, this is a very complex topic. We're going to have to do a whole Seek Reality episode just on this topic, and actually one is planned. But the answer to both of those questions turns out apparently to be, in a way, but not exactly. What is true is that your mind is of the same creative force that manifests everything that we perceive, which means that your mind is immensely powerful. Of course, materialist science remains clueless about this, but most open-minded researchers are now beginning to figure it out. And as is true of so many things that researchers are coming to understand rather belatedly, Jesus told us this fact long ago. He said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you'll say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. That's Matthew 17:20. He said it. Of course, that's real mental power, if you can move a mountain. And the great quantum physicist Max Planck told us close to a century ago that consciousness is the base creative force, but still they don't listen to him. He said in 1931, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. He was right about that in 1931. He is even more right about that today, and yet science still ignores him. The implications of all these truths for your own life are staggering. And I have a favorite go-to person. There are actually two or three that I talk about these matters with because they've taken the voyage and they've done the research. So back with us for the fourth time is Joyce Stewart. She's a holistic healer and a spiritual polymath. She's written 2 books, Interconnected by God, Healing for Your Spirit, Soul, and Body. And we've already talked with her about God is Love, a spiritual journey from fear to love. So if you're wondering about that one, just look in our archives. Joyce, I'm delighted that you're here. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back with you today.
Some people will not have heard your story before, so can you please just briefly tell us a little about your story? I know that you started out as quite Christian.
Yes, I was raised in a Christian church my entire life, so that was really the base, kind of like the foundation of which my life was built upon. And then when I started getting into psychotherapy and counseling, I started looking into more of holistic energy-based treatments because the traditional methods were not working. They were just managing people's symptoms, and I believed in God who could actually heal people. And as I went through that journey and learned about alternative healing, I began to understand more about energy and consciousness and how God actually created everything to work, which led me to question a lot of my Christian beliefs because they really did not line up with the truth of what I was learning about how things actually work. And so that's kind of led me to where I am today, where I still consider myself a Christian because I live by the teachings of Jesus, which is love, and by his life example, but I no longer follow a lot of the belief systems made by man because so many of them are based in fear.
So that's a succinct summary of exactly where I am, too. I think we can pretty much confirm, based on what the dead tell us and just based upon what we see around us, that Jesus told us the truth. The only problem we have as people who want to follow Jesus is that Christianity is, as you say, so encumbered by these false man-made beliefs that it's impossible. And I'm going to talk about this at some point. I think I have in the past. I will again. It's impossible to be a practicing traditional Christian and grow spiritually. It is impossible to be a practicing traditional Christian and follow Jesus. I mean, that's a tragic thing to have to say, but Joyce, you would agree, right?
I would agree, yes. Yeah, because it really closes you off to a lot of what the actual truth or reality is.
And the important thing you said is that it's all fear-based. That's the problem. Because spiritual growth is moving away from fear and toward love. And if your very religion is steeped in fear, you cannot do that. So anyway, that's a topic for another day. Where today we're talking about healing. What is energy healing?
Well, energy, I define energy as the life force of creation. Everything in life is based on energy. It's created by energy. And so what we do with our traditional way of healing is we look at the body as just being this physical mass of matter, and we don't accept the fact that it's actually a spiritual being that has spiritual life and energy within it. And so we try and treat the body just using matter. So we treat it through surgery, we treat it through medications, things like that. But when you understand that the body is actually a spiritual being, then you have access to spiritual means of healing, energy-based healing, because spirit and energy are basically the same thing. So we can go out into that big energy quantum field out there and use energy as a form to bring healing to people. This is where you see the miraculous healings. You hear about people praying for people, laying hands on people, using different energy treatments, and people get healed much faster, whether it's physical illness or disease, or whether it's more of mental health or emotional disease, the type of things that I work with. So it's going outside yourself and accessing the spiritual healing energy of God, as opposed to just using the what we would call the medical treatments that man has created.
I should just mention that the great quantum biologist Bruce Lipton says that based upon his research, energy healing is actually 100 times more effective than is chemical medicine. So basically, is that do you find that too?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I mean, I was astounded by that. So basically, if you've got any kind of a health problem and you're tired of, I mean, I have a friend who tragically has had her heart damaged by chemotherapy, totally unnecessarily. It didn't help at all. Now she's doing what does help. So if you're tired of chemicals, there is a better way. It's just that there aren't many people who practice it yet. But for your children and grandchildren, this is going to be the only way people heal. They're going to stop using chemicals that only poison us.
That's correct.
So how does this relate to acupuncture, for example, or to the Chinese qi, or does it?
Well, we have this physical body, but then we also have what's called an energy body. So your energy body consists of your meridian lines, which is lines of energy that go throughout your entire body. And along those lines are all what we call acupoints, little points of energy. And every one of these points relate to different organs, different places within your body. So if you have sickness or disease in some part of your body, we would say it's because you've got a lot of blocked energy. The energy is not flowing, it's blocked. And so through energy-based treatments like acupuncture, you can stick a needle in one of these acupoints and it will basically kind of release that energy block so the energy can flow back through your body again, which is going to allow the healing to take place.
And for the Qigong medicine, it's kind of the same thing, I guess. I mean, I've seen...
Yeah. Qigong is more, I don't practice that a lot, but my understanding is that is more of you're using physical motions with your body, different exercises, movements, breath work you do that allows here again that trapped, blocked energy to be released and be free. So your energy, really, somebody who's in a healthy state, body, mind, and spirit, they're all of the meridian lines, the acupoints, everything, the energy is just flowing very clearly throughout their body. Sickness and disease, you've got all kinds of blocks in different places, so the energy can't flow, and that's what's behind your sickness and disease.
Oh, how fascinating that is. So we all know that we are spiritual beings temporarily in a physical body. And so what this does is use that basic fact in such a way that physical body can be healed by the spiritual being that we are eternally, right? Is that another way to say it?
Yeah.
And this can work for physical illnesses, and it also can work for mental illnesses, right?
That is correct. Yeah, I'll give you an example. One of the things that I do is called the emotion code. So all of us feel a lot of intense emotions when we're going through life. Many times it's not safe to express them, and so we stuff all those emotions down inside our physical body. Emotions are energy. They don't die when we stuff them down. They stay alive. They get lodged in your cells and your organs. They stay there long enough, they manifest as physical illness and disease. So with the emotion code, I can use the energies in my hand, and I can pull out those trapped energies that are within your body. And once I pull them out, many times the physical pain that the person has associated with that will also leave at the same time.
Really?
Physical pain was manifested by the trapped emotion within them.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I have found a lot of physical illness and diseases based on emotional junk that we have pushed down inside of ourselves.
So what should we do instead? We're having an emotional problem, and we're trying to get past it. How do we get free of it without pushing it in and making it a problem later?
Well, what I try and teach people is that when you're feeling a lot of intense emotions, like I said, sometimes it may not be safe to express at the time. It maybe you're being abused or attacked in some way. It's not safe to express it. But at a later date, find a safe place where you can identify what you felt, allow yourself to feel it and release it. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. It can be by talking to somebody about what happened. It can be through exercise, because emotions are energy. Exercise is energy, is a way to release a lot of energy out of us. It can be through creativity. You draw a picture of what you're feeling. You write a song about what you're feeling. And there's just so many different ways. You can journal, write about what you're feeling. Lots of different ways in which we can release these feelings.
And that really works. This is very exciting. This is the healing of the future, and we're talking about it right now with our wonderful friend Joyce Stewart, who you're a holistic healer. What does holistic mean, and what does a holistic healer do?
Okay, a holistic healer means we really look at the entire person. So if you have a physical ailment, you go to a regular doctor, all they're going to look at is your physical problem. Where if someone came to me with a physical problem, I would want to kind of learn about life history, because many times the problems we have are based in things that have happened in our past. So we look at, your past history, look at your spirit, where you're at spiritually, where your body's physically, where you're at emotionally. We look at body, soul, and spirit, every part of you. I do a thorough assessment. And from that, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the root cause of your symptoms, because traditional medicine just treats the symptoms. Holistically, we look at what is the root cause of these symptoms. And once we find it, then we can energetically release out the root cause, and these symptoms will automatically, most of the time, will go away because they have nothing more to attach themselves to. So holistic healing is looking at the entire person, and it's using more energy-based, alternative-based healing modalities as opposed to just traditional psychotherapy or medications and things like that.
Wow. Okay. So that's consistent with what Bruce Lipton says too.
Yes.
So, but that energy that we're working with really is consciousness, right? Yes. Ultimately. It's just a different way of looking at consciousness. I should just say it by way of elaboration that as we've talked about, the beings not now in bodies tell us that while we are in bodies, we are experiencing less than 5% of our vast eternal minds. And the part we're here with really is designed for rapid spiritual learning, and that's about it. So what Joyce is doing and what other healers are doing is accessing the greater part, what frankly scientists call the subconscious is really the superconscious. When we get back to the afterlife, one of the first things that happens is that we return to the mind we left behind. It's like you packed a suitcase, put it in a closet. Your whole mind is in there except a little bit of it. You come here with that little bit to learn, just the way you strip down to go to a gym, and then you come back to what is your eternal home, and you again rejoin that wonderful mind, which has so much power, which is part of the force that brings forth this universe continuously. Am I saying this right? And then while we are in bodies, we can access it, but we can't access it consciously. So what Joyce is doing and other holistic healers are doing is to help us access it and use its powers to heal ourselves, which is ultimately the only way we can be healed. Is that right? Or how would you change that?
Yes, I'll explain that a little bit, how I see it. So working with my clients, we've got our mind, which is our consciousness, has two parts. It's got the subconscious and it's got the conscious. So the conscious is a part of the mind, aware of everything that you're doing in the here and now present moment. The subconscious is like this master computer that's recorded everything that's ever happened to you, every thought,